space athletics. Okay, so think about this for a minute. Like people always debate who are the greatest players of all time. They say in basketball, is Michael Jordan better than Wilt Chamberlain? Or sometimes they say, even more often, they say, is Michael Jordan better than, let's say, LeBron James? And then, people make arguments back and forth. I mean, most people, or at least a lot of people, feel Michael Jordan's the best of all time. But be that as it may, a lot of people say you can't. It's not really fair to compare players in different eras because there were different rules, there were different standards, there were different training. Like back when Michael Jordan played, it was a much rougher game. Now you can't even hand check without a foul, but back then you could basically almost, metaphorically mug somebody. I mean, the Detroit Pistons, who Michael Jordan had to go up against, they roughed him up bad, and it was just basically a lot looser rules. So it's hard to compare. And when Wilt Chamberlain played, there wasn't. I don't know if there was any other 7-footers. I mean, George Mikan was a 7-footer, but he played before Wilt Chamberlain, I believe. So would Wilt Chamberlain have been as dominant today, with a league full of 7-footers? Or there's even a few less 7-footers now than there used to be, I think, because perhaps, I'm not sure, but, the three-point game. So you have different eras, like, players that were great three-point shooters back in Michael Jordan's day and before. I mean, at one point there was no three-point line. So a guy like Marjanovic, Pete Marjanovic, I don't know if they had the three-pointer when he was playing or not. I mean, he might have scored 50 points a game. It's a different era. Even when they had the three-point line for a while, people weren't using it much because the teams weren't, built to maximize it. The philosophy wasn't, they're different offensive philosophies. So, okay, so use that as a metaphor example to think about Space Olympics. So the moon has, I believe, 1/6 gravity of Earth. So when they have Olympic contests, and, excuse me, athletic contests on the moon, I don't know if you'll be able to jump 6 times higher or just twice as high or 10 times as high, but the accomplishments are going to be much higher because you have a lot. Mars, I think, basically, don't quote me because I'm not 100% sure, but I think it has almost zero gravity. I mean, it has a very toxic environment, but perhaps like people debate, the Martian, sorry, the moon champions, are they better than the Martian champions? Because yeah, most of the records on Mars are, I'm just making up a number, 5 times better, but this particular record is only 2 times better, so it shows that the moon guy is much better. Maybe the moon champion will go to Mars, compete against the Mars people. So it's going to be interesting when we have more. See, not only are there going to be different results, but there's going to be different events because, like, like you have extreme events on Earth, and now even there's a few people that have kind of even jumped from space. I think Felix Baumgartner or something like that by Red Bull. He jumped from, like, I don't know what it was, maybe 100,000 feet or something like that. I mean, extreme events are getting much more extreme. But when you have like no gravity, I mean, I don't know if that means more extreme or less extreme, but the types of things that you can do in different environments are much different. So what makes sense is like maybe on Earth you can run a marathon, but maybe on Mars you can run 10,000 miles, or maybe you can only run a mile. I'm not sure, like, if it's less or more, but where the conditions are different, um, you know, where the conditions are different, the events are going to be different. So if the events are different, then how are you going to compare athletes from one to another? It's like saying who's a better athlete, Mark Spitz, who's a great swimmer, or the best in the world at synchronized swimming, or the best in the world at water polo. Yeah, they're all in the water, but they're doing different things. Maybe in some environments like rock climbing or mountain climbing, maybe in some environments people will be able to climb something like as big as Mount Everest, and without oxygen, maybe with oxygen, or maybe without, because we all need oxygen. But maybe someone in an environment will be able to race up something as big as Mount Everest in like an hour. So it's when you think about space athletics, it's going to give a whole new meaning to what athletics is, because the environments are so different, and the results are going to be different, and the events are going to be different.